Let's jump straight into this. Welcome to a very special, profoundly dark explainer. Today, we're stepping far away from the mundane and plunging headfirst into a grim, gothic fable, a real philosophical diatribe. For this journey, I need you to play a role. You aren't just watching this. You are the wretched scribe. You're the architect of reality that is about to be violently, completely dismantled. We're breaking down the explosive source text, the ink blot of high time. Prepare yourself, because the reality you've written for yourself, it's about to be torn to shreds. Think about the ultimate philosophical trap. In Fichtean philosophy, consciousness starts the moment the self posits its own existence, the moment you say, I am. But here's the catch. Our source text turns that triumph into a total nightmare. By declaring I am, you didn't liberate yourself. You built a page, a Fichtean cell of 6 paces by 4. You built this fragile, artificial identity to desperately fend off the outside world. The not-self. And right now, that not-self is waiting just outside your perfect limestone chamber, ready to shatter everything you think you are. So what exactly is this Fichtean cell? Well, it's essentially a self-defined psychological prison. You really thought your meticulous ink and those heavy stone walls of logic were protecting you, didn't you? But the text reveals something much darker. Those walls were never your enemy. They're just the artificial boundaries of existence you created to anchor your drifting, terrified soul. You've spent centuries hiding this dark, fractured purgatory behind a pristine mask of reason. But guess what? Those defensive ink lines are about to run. And that brings us to the catalyst of your ruin, the ink blot of high time. Picture it as a single wet drop of raw, completely unshaped potentiality just falling onto the parchment of your life. It isn't an accident. No, it's a siege engine. The second this ink blot touches your meticulously drawn borders, it dissolves them completely. It's the raw chaos of the universe going up against the rigid, static ink lines of your structured world. And your logic absolutely can't hold back that wet, spreading chaos. Just look at the violent shift in reality that comes next. The illusion of your towering modern Art Deco towers of progress, it violently collapses right into the rusted Arthurian armor of a dark Camelot psychodrama. It's wild. Your rigid architecture of the state is exposed as nothing more than a rotting, temporary canvas. The whole illusion of modernity is just violently stripped away, leaving this feudal, decaying wasteland underneath. You thought you built a modern utopia, but you're actually trapped in a tragic, gothic play. Illuminating this entire wasteland is the Sapphire light. Now, the text defines this not as some kind of actual magic, but as the blinding visual eruption of severe, intellectual honesty. It is so blinding and so terrifyingly true that the fearful, which in this case is you, the scribe, dismiss it as unclean sorcery. This light is literally the ultimate weapon of narrative contamination. It burns away all your comfortable lies, and from the friction of that wet ink, it summons the very architects of your downfall, the spirit siblings of high time. The first sibling to step out of that glowing ink is the wit. He manifests as a priestly jester, the absolute embodiment of mockery aimed directly at your righteous law. But let me be clear, he is not performing a comedy for your amusement. Not at all. His jests are pure theological nightmares. He's the sneer of the universe directed at the laws and rules you actually thought governed your existence. The wit is incredibly methodical in his destruction. He drafts these inescapable contracts of negation. Every single law you hold dear, he negates it. He signs the death warrants of your old gods, the systems you worship, leaving them as nothing but hollow iron shells. He aggressively, systematically strips away the institutional fabrications that gave your life a false sense of predetermined purpose. He basically reveals that your sacred institutions are just bad jokes you took way too seriously. The text puts it perfectly. He is the not-self the self cannot abide. Think back to our Fichtean deep dive from earlier. If you are the self desperately trying to maintain order, the wit is your absolute terrifying antithesis. He's the contradiction you can't reconcile, the chaos you can't organize. He is the complete negation of your existence, and he breaks your spirit simply by existing. But the wit doesn't work alone. Looming right behind him is the second sibling, the hunger. Described as a cosmic mind and a bard of the abyss, this blue-eyed fiend wields the kinetic eruption of Sapphire science. If the wit's job is to break your laws, the hunger is there to devour the very foundation of your knowledge. He is an insatiable intellectual void. Just look at the menu for the hunger's feast. He starts by consuming the forbidden knowledge your pale inquisitor tried to hide in an iron stove. But then it gets deeper. From a philological standpoint, he actually devours the grammar of the empire's self-belief. He eats the very words, the literal structure of the language you use to justify your existence. And to wash it down, he drinks the living sapphire ink guarded in your hollow grail. He strips away every imperial illusion, every linguistic trick, until only the brutal, unvarnished world is left. And in doing so, the hunger exposes the biggest lie of all. All those noble, historical struggles, your grand quest for truth, he reveals it was just a manufactured illusion. It was a controlled, predictable cycle of revolt and reset. You thought you were progressing, but you were really just spinning a wheel designed to keep the kingdom dead and secure. The whole history is a fabricated loop. Finally, we meet the third manifestation. Crouching at the edge of your broken round table is the small gargoyle, a stunted, grotesque creature wearing jester's motley. While the wit mocks your macro laws and the hunger devours your broad knowledge, this gargoyle is here for something much more intimately terrifying. He is here to swallow your deeply personal morality and your internal, institutional lies. The way the gargoyle escalates is just horrifying in its precision. First, he feeds on your corrupted noble shadows, the part of you that actually mistook the heavy chains of submission for a rusted crown of righteousness. Second, as he feeds on the rot hidden right beneath your gilded perfection, he grows monstrously large. And then comes the final dissolution. He stares back from the abyss until your very identity bubbles away, exactly like the unclean sorcery you always feared. The gargoyle delivers this crushing, definitive philosophical blow. Your noble history, those grand monuments to static morality, they were never acts of free will. Tapping straight into Nietzschean philosophy, the text reveals these monuments were forged by submission to a historical dragon, the dragon whose scales scream, "Thou shalt." You never actually said, "I will." You only ever bowed down to the dead commands of a long-gone beast. Because of the relentless work of these three spirit siblings, the inevitable finally happens. The Knight of the Iron Word, which is the ultimate symbol of your righteous order, crumbles into the dust of his own dead morality. It's utter, complete ruin. The mirror has been raised, and it absolutely refuses to choose sides. It just objectively reflects that your righteous order was the exact same rot you denied the loudest. The system hasn't just failed, it is entirely disintegrated. Which brings us to the most terrifying question of this entire explainer. The city walls are gone, your Fichtean cell is totally shattered, the ink of reality is wet and formless once again, and you, the scribe, are standing completely exposed in the gray twilight of an unwritten horizon. So what happens now? You are staring down the terrifying, empty freedom that comes right after the total destruction of everything you ever believed. The answer? Silence, and a truly overwhelming existential dread. There's no new paradise waiting for you out there. There's no comforting dream to fall back into. The old script is gone for good. You're left totally isolated in this gothic wasteland, holding the pen. The incredibly heavy burden of writing the next line, of creating your own meaning out of a literal void, falls squarely upon your own trembling hand. So, what will you write in the dark?